The family of Mario Gonzalez is speaking out today after 26-year-old Oakland man died last week while officers tried to restrain him when they got a call about a man under the influence and possibly involved in a crime. It's not confirmed if Gonzalez was linked to either, and the cause of his death is still pending an autopsy report. Let's hear what his loved ones are saying now.
Hey, y'all. Last Monday, the Alameda Police Department said that Mario died in police custody due to medical complications. Yesterday, my family and I saw the footage and we know what really happened. Alameda police officers murdered my brother Mario. My mother was heartbroken to see Mario's last moments. She gave birth to him, her firstborn, raised him, and now has to bury him. It was painful to watch the violence and disregard for his humanity. Mario was a kind and humorous man. He was a loving father and the caretaker for our brother with special needs. Mario bathed and fed my brother as well as his 4-year-old child. Mario did not deserve to be murdered by the police. The footage shows officers on top of Mario while he was face down on the ground. They had their weight on his head and his back. He was complying, and they continued to pin him down with their weight. Everything we saw in that video was unnecessary and unprofessional, and it took a minuscule event and made it fatal. The footage showed Mario sitting in the park and not bothering anyone. At no point was he violent or out of control. There was no scuffle, like they mentioned. They could have asked him to call his family and we would have come pick him up. There was no reason to detain him, let alone kill him. The APD took a calm situation and made it fatal. So our demands are, we want a thorough and unbiased criminal investigation into the murder of Mario Gonzalez. A complete and unbiased investigation of the officers and the APD's policies, training, and supervision of these officers. Release the records and the names of the officers involved as required by California law. We want to see all of the footage, not just one body cam. And we want all the footage made public. And we want citizen-led alternatives to police for crisis response.
That's right.
The police killed my brother in the same manner that they killed George Floyd. 64 people have since been killed since the trial began. In the 24 hours after the verdict, 6 people were killed by police, and that's excluding Mario.
Thank you, Jerry. My name is George Galvis. I'm co-founder and executive director of Courage, Community United for Restorative Youth Justice, based in East Oakland, California. We're here to support the family. I want to say that, many of you last week had reached out to, those of us who've been organizing around police accountability here in the Bay Area and asked us for our comments and our responses to the George Floyd verdict. And so I want to repeat and reiterate that one verdict does not create systemic change. To just punctuate the point that was just made by Jerry, in less than 24 hours after the verdict, it's almost like there was a secret police society and they all got together and had a secret meeting to basically double down on their efforts of terrorizing Black and brown communities. 6 people murdered in less than 24 hours. 64 people murdered just since the beginning of the trial. I want you all to just reflect on that for a moment. And I want to point out that here in the city of Alameda, there's a history of racism. There was what's referred to as racial zoning that prohibited Black and brown and Asian and Pacific Islanders from living in communities here in the city of Alameda. It was deemed unconstitutional. And so the next move was what's commonly referred to as redlining, maybe better referred to as white lining, since it's white folks who draw the lines that lock out people of color from these communities. And there's a history of the lack of any oversight or accountability for Alameda police. There's no accountability. In Oakland, we struggle and at least there's a police commission. There is zero oversight of the Alameda police. And it was just in the 90s, when Alameda police officers, it was revealed that they said they were gonna dress in blackface, and some of them were gonna dress as Klan members so that they could go out there and shoot, and I quote, the N-word, plural. That was Alameda police on record. Said that in the 90s. Were those officers ever held accountable? No. Were those officers ever disciplined? No. You know what happened? They were given more money to create a police athletic league here in Alameda so that they could go play prison ball with some of the kids in the West Side. Some of those officers who made those statements may still be on the force. Some of those officers who made those statements might be in supervising and in high-level positions in the Alameda police that allow this behavior of racism and terrorism against black, brown, and brown communities to continue. And so I want to point out, once again, a verdict does not create systemic change. Just the same way some of y'all wanted to point to the first black president and refer to that as the post-racial. And then what did we get after that? What did we get the last 4 years? Was that post-racial? So I want to encourage you guys to stop jumping to conclusions, because oftentimes when we see any indication of progress, what we see is major backlash. So I want to introduce, is the mom here? I want to introduce my friend, my colleague, my comrade, my sister from another mister, who's been leading some of the most profound police accountability efforts in the nation through the Anti-Police Terror Project, to come up and talk about some of the next steps. Please give it up for Sister Kat Brooks.
Say his name. 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 No justice. No peace. 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 No justice. No justice. No justice. Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. Mario Gonzalez did not have to die. Mario Gonzalez did not have to die. In my tradition, and in the tradition of this movement, we say their names. We say their names to bring them into our spaces, to guide us, to protect us, to show us how to fight for justice in their honor. Say his name. Mario Gonzalez. Say his name. Mario Gonzalez. Say his name. Mario Gonzalez. What they asked me to speak about were solutions. If you would have asked me 20 years ago, I guess, when I started doing this work, the only solution was to end white supremacy. And that still really is the only solution, right? End white supremacy, end U.S. imperialism, abolish the police, close American concentration camps, free them all, let the people figure it out, right? But there are two things that I want to talk about today. The first is consequences for people who make hate crime calls to the police.
Yes. Yes.
Mario Gonzalez is dead, and I hope you're watching. I hope the two Karens that made those calls, I hope you are watching, and listen to me very carefully when I tell you, You are just as responsible for Mario Gonzalez being dead as they are. You are just as responsible, and shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. A Latino man was having a beer in a park on a bright and sunny day? That's suspicious? I guess it is in Alameda. There needs to be consequences for people who call the police on us for being brown and black and breathing. So that's solution number one, right? Because the first time there's some actual consequences, I bet you they stop that mess real quick. The second thing is we are at a particular moment in our movement, right? It's not the beginning of anything, and I keep saying that because I heard especially a lot of our youngsters at the rallies over the summer talk about they're so excited for this new beginning. We're in the middle of a movement, right? Africans have been fighting since the first one of us was kidnapped 400 years ago and dropped on this shore for our liberation, right? Indigenous folks have been fighting since the first white folks came, right, and the cavalry ensued in this genocidal behavior. We've never not resisted. We've always resisted. So we're in a particular moment in our movement. And it is one where there are some actual solutions, right? At least things that can stem the tide of black and brown bodies that are falling all over this country every single day. Every single day. You heard Jerry mention some stats. On average, police in this country are murdering 3 people a day. On average. Police right now in the United States of America are the answer to every single social ill we have. My neighbor spilled milk on my driveway, I'm calling the police. So-and-so stubbed their toe, I'm calling the police. There's too many crickets out tonight, I'm calling the police. We call the police for everything. It didn't used to be that way. Cops did not used to be the answer to every single social ill. That started in the 1970s with the war on drugs, which was what the war on us, right? When America declared its next iteration of the war on us. Removing social services, resources, programs, support programs out of our communities and replacing those things with a militarized police and a violent carceral state. The only way that we reduce or eliminate state-sanctioned murder of black and brown bodies is to reduce and eliminate contact between black and brown bodies and the state. That's it. That's it. That's the only option we got, right? Until we can tear this thing completely down and rebuild something else. And that is the heart of defund, right? That is the heart of defund. It's about transformation. It's not about, and it must be a powerful policy because it's getting blamed for stuff. And it's not even a policy yet. Apparently just talking about defund has the ability, right, to cause things like spikes in crime. Nah, let's fix that narrative. Nobody's taken anything from the cops yet. And crime is out of control, which just should reinforce the logic and the narrative that cops do not keep us safe. You have the money now and our bodies are falling now, but my point is, defund is about taking money out of bloated police budgets and putting that into the community in the form of resources, programs, and supports. Yes. It's about not calling the cops anymore when there's a mental health crisis. Yes. We don't need them, we got MAs first, right? Yes. It's about not calling the cops when someone is in the middle of a substance abuse crisis. We got folks that can handle that. Cops, by the way, are not violence interrupters, they are violence responders. Let's give them money to CRC or Courage, who are on these streets, know the community, and can get there before the bullet flies, not afterwards. It's about dealing with trauma, right? If you look at the cycle of violence, trauma sits prominently in that cycle. Our children have PTSD by the age of 8, I'm being generous there. Then they're dehumanized and disrespected and disregarded in their school system, and then we don't understand why they're picking up a gun at 16 and 17. Let's get to the gun before the bullet flies. It's about economic opportunity. If I can't make a living in the above ground economy, read my lips, be clear, I'm gonna make a living in the underground one because I'm going to feed my child and house myself and put clothes on my back. So let's pull our loved ones out of it and put them in the above ground economy. There are solutions. Right, there are solutions that are rooted in what we call radical reforms. Radical reforms don't reinforce the status quo, they chip away at it. right? And we're gonna chip till it doesn't exist anymore. So your job, my people, between now and June, regardless of what city you live in, because these conversations are happening in almost every city, at least across the state, and in many cities across the country. Your job is to let your city council members, your board of supervisors, your mayors know that our expectations is that our tax dollars are utilized for our agenda. And our agenda is to refund, restore, and reimagine right now. Right now. Right now. Defund the police, invest in community right now. No more Marios. No more Marios. No more Richard Perkins. No more Joshua Pollocks. No more Nathaniel Wilkes. No more. Yeah, I'm saying Bay Area names. Right, because our elected officials, they want to latch on to the George Floyds and Breonna Taylors, may they rise in power. But when it comes to the black and brown people right here, what's that cricket's eye here? Right. The Bay Area, we've got our own genocide problem. And we need to say their names. What's his name? Mario Gonzalez. Say his name. 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 Mario Gonzalez.
I want to invite everybody to do a visualization exercise with me. Because the last 14, 15 months since this pandemic has been a difficult time for the nation. And simultaneously, we've had this pandemic of police terrorism. And the social emotional climate of this country is hurting. So I want to invite everybody to imagine you lose your job because of a pandemic. The economy is hurting. You're struggling with income. You have a child to support, a family to support. You have a younger brother with special needs. Imagine that heaviness of that responsibility, trying to meet these obligations, not being able to in this economy. Because what we've seen in the last 14 months is the biggest gap, wealth gap in the entire world, in history. Billionaires have tripled up their wealth, and the poor have become poor. So imagine you go to the store, you go outside to just get some fresh air. You get a beer and you go out to the park to just collect your thoughts. And imagine that the police come and harass you. The audacity to harass somebody for just sitting and drinking a beer in the park who's trying to collect their thoughts. And imagine that the police kill you. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened when they murdered Mario Gonzalez. And we know that the police will take someone who's a serial killer, like Dylan Roof, who shot up a black church. And when he says he's hungry, they'll take him to Burger King on the way to jail without a scratch on his body. And they're compassionate enough to feed him on the way to jail. But a brown man who goes out and sits in the park to have a beer, to collect his thoughts on a warm day, struggling with all the issues and all the gravity of all the social emotional climate that's happening in this moment, gets murdered because he looks suspicious, quote unquote. In 1966, the Black Panther Party was formed primarily to cop watch, to watch abusive Oakland police officers. And they had big old camcorders back then. And this was an open carry state at that time. And let's also let the record show that the NRA, who refused to stand up for the Second Amendment rights of Philando Castile, were involved in lobbying gun control in California to prevent black people from being able to defend themselves. That's how gun control occurred in California. Well, the Panthers had an expression that still rings true today. They said, we don't need police protection. We need protection from the police. I'm gonna bring Brother James Birch Director of Policy from the Anti-Police Terror Project, to talk about some of the data, to talk about some of the policy, and talk about some of the next steps. Brother James.
Say his name.
Mario Gonzalez.
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 As Kat said, we say these names to bring Mario into this space because we know that Mario should be with us today. That's my baby right there.
Yeah.
That's my baby. That's Audrey right there. Right? And I want Audrey to live in a world where I don't have to be afraid that Audrey will be killed because of the color of their skin. Right? And this isn't a faraway nightmare that we're talking about right here. Right? Mario's family is living this nightmare right now. They're living this nightmare right now. There are so many families here locally in the Bay Area who are enmeshed in this nightmare. I want to bring some names into this space. Because again, at the national level, we talk about George Floyd, we talk about Breonna Taylor, but here in the Bay Area, there have been countless people murdered by law enforcement with no accountability. Stephen Taylor, say his name. Stephen Taylor. Say his name. Stephen Taylor. Say his name. Stephen Taylor. Stephen Taylor was in a mental health crisis in a Walmart in San Leandro. Within 40 seconds of law enforcement entering that Walmart, Stephen Taylor was killed. He was shot and killed. Say his name. Stephen Taylor. Stephen Taylor should be with us today. Angelo Quinto, say his name. Angelo Quinto. Angelo Quinto, say his name. Angelo Quinto. Angelo Quinto was killed during a mental health crisis in Antioch. He should be with us today. Say his name. Angelo Quinto. Miles Hall, say his name. Miles Hall. Miles Hall, say his name. Miles Hall. Miles Hall was killed during a mental health crisis in Walnut Creek. Say his name. Miles Hall. I could do this all day. I could say names all day, and honestly, I should, because so many people have been forgotten by our communities who have been killed by the state, right? We would need thousands of people to just keep up with this machinery of death that we call law enforcement here in the United States, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop. And it's got to stop right now. People want to talk about the solutions like they're far away, and they're not. We know what needs to happen. Sister Kat Brooks said it. We need to decrease contact with law enforcement. I hear you, Audrey. I see you, Bobby. You're making this hard for Daddy. That's my baby, y'all. And the fear that Mario's family carries, I will carry with me until we end this system of destruction. Right? If you don't have skin that looks like mine or looks similar to mine, you don't know what I'm talking about. Right? And you don't know what we're living with. Right? So we need to stop allowing law enforcement to engage with our communities. They do not keep us safe. They do not, when it comes to the things that people think law enforcement traditionally does well, solve what we call crimes, they don't even do that well, right? Our entire system of policing is based on a lie, right? Any data scientist will tell you that the effectiveness of policing is in serious question across the board, right? We're relying on the myth and the fairy tale of policing that we have all been told since we were small children. The media reinforces it, y'all journalists reinforce it, and until we stop and take a serious look at what law enforcement does in the United States, the system will continue. So I'm gonna take that burden that I carry and pass it on to all of you, right? This system does not work, right? It is a failure by design, and my people are bleeding out on the streets because of it. So we all need to ask ourselves and take very seriously our charge that this system must be dismantled, and we need to start right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother James. Last and most important of all, we want to hear from the mother of Mario Gonzalez, Doña Edith Gonzalez. I'm also inviting Linda Sanchez from Courage to translate for the Spanish impaired. Without further ado, doña Edith. Por favor.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. So, my English is not really good, but I'm trying. I know everybody speak English right here. We're in the United States. And then, I just try to talk about, the situation right now, how I'm feeling, how this, I can't even explain it, Yesterday, they called me to the videos, the last minute, the life of my son. He was 26 years old. He's taking care of my son all the time. My special son, 22 years old, and his baby, 4 years old. He's a lovely guy. He's respectful all the time. They broke my family for no reason. They said, I saw the videos, and then I said, what's going on? My son answered all the questions for the officer. My question is, what kind of person is taking care of us? I'm paying taxes right here. I'm living right here almost 30 years. And then I saw the videos, I get in shock because the police department, Alameda police department, they're lying to me. They say my son, he fighting with the officer. I say, no, come on. You guys made a mistake. My son never going to fight with nobody. He's a lovely guy. They made a really bad mistake because he fought. He's panic. All the questions, he answered really good. He never said, fuck you, police. He never said nothing at all. Everything on my mind, I never going. I cannot sleep with all, it's terrible for me, But I want to see we need justice. They need to change the officer. They need to do something. They need to check what kind of the person they're taking care supposed to with us. Man, he was 26 years old. My special son, he's waiting for him. He don't want to sleep. You guys want to see his feet like an elephant. He's working. Ask me, Mommy, Mama, he tried to speak. How can I explain to my grandson? Your papa passed away. They got him for no reason. He lovely adult. He lovely guy. Is why I want to, they happen to me, all the time, I watching the TV, I watch the news, and then I feel like confused. I say, are you serious? But it happened to me right now. I say, why? When I saw the videos, I feel like why, They broke my ear like that. How can I ask the question to my special son? How? The guy, the one taking care of you, the one taking shower on you, the one shaving you, the one put you in the shower all the time, is not here because they kill him. They kill him for no reason. Because he was in the park. They saw him suspect for what? I don't see him doing nothing. He's speaking very well with the officers. We have to respect the life. I feel so sad. I feel sad to see my son, working in the house, asking me questions. He's special. He's autistic. He's 22 years old, Mario was like his father. His father passed away 4 years ago. My grandson right here. He asked me, Mommy, My papi passed away. My papi died. My papi died. How can I say that? Somebody killed him. The officer killed him for no reason. He's not a criminal at all. I feel so sad. I had to work. I just get off from my job. I need to pay my rent. I need to pay my stuff. You know, I had to be humans. You know, today it happened to me. Tomorrow going to happen to somebody else because my color his color is different. Why? They're not professional people. I'm asking you. You know, I'm trying to figure it out, what they're thinking, you know, when they approaching my stuff, I saw the video, and then I feel like they don't even try to talk to him. Is somebody drunk? Is somebody doing whatever? They know how the right to kill him. We humans. We're not cockroaches. We humans. How can I explain my family? They broke my family into parts. They broke my right hand. How can I explain it? How can I say? They killed him with what? What? He was a criminal? He killed somebody? He robbed something? He knocked it? He doing something? No. The police department is trying to do different stuff to put my son's names in different ways. I feel so mad. I feel sad. Yesterday, you know, I don't know, you know, the whole night I was thinking in my son's face when I saw him lay down with the eyes, you know, with all his mouth with grass and everything because the officer killed him. They don't let him breathe. He's a cockroach or something? What's wrong? We pay and the officer supposed to be for take care of us. Not to kill us. We're not rats, we're not animals, we're humans. We can breathe. Probably they think he was a homeless, he's a homeless, he don't have no familia, he don't have no family waiting for him. We're right here, his familia. They need to understand that part. I don't know what's wrong with those guys, you know, probably because they saw his face, his skin, different color or something. I need, you know, I hope, you know, they can investigate them. Then ask what kind of people is that, what kind of, how many years they're working in the police, or if they have a experience, because they, for sure, they don't have no experience at all. It happened to me. They can happen to you guys tomorrow. That's right. Yeah, it's what I say. Right. We humans, we know cockroaches. We not rats. They cannot kill us like ants. No. My Mario needed justice. My Mario, my gordo. Yes. They kill him for no reason. They kill him for no reason. We humans. This is what I can say that.
Doña Edith, ¿puede hablar en español para los médicos? Por favor.
Sí. La cosa que pasó fue que este lunes yo recibí una noticia de la Highland Hospital como a las 12. Me dijeron, tienes que venir porque tu hijo, queremos hablar de tu hijo Mario González. Dice, claro, yo voy. Esa noche mi nieto pasó la noche con nosotros y yo dije, bueno, yo lo atiendo y vamos. Cuando llegué al hospital, el doctor me dijo, queremos decirte que pues, tu hijo vino en la custodia de la policía y murió. Dije, ¿pero por qué? ¿De qué hablas? Mi hijo no tenía ninguna situación crónica, ninguna enfermedad, era un muchacho de 26 años.
You've been listening to the family of Mario Gonzalez speaking out today after the 26-year-old Oakland man died last week while officers tried to restrain him when they got a call about a man under the influence and possibly involved in a crime. It has not been confirmed if Gonzalez was linked to either, and the cause of his death is still pending an autopsy report. We heard from his brother as well as his mother. His brother saying that there was no reason for this to end this way. If there was any sort of issue, there should have been a crisis team available, and they hope and are advocating that that can happen Bay Area wide. That would be a resource that people have instead of having officers respond in the matter of a crisis again. So they are concerned that taking a look at body camera video, that there was officers pinning him to the ground. They likened it to what had happened with George Floyd. They called Mario a kind and humorous man, a loving father who took care of a special needs child that did not deserve to be murdered by police. Again, they said that footage showed officers on top of Mario Gonzalez while he is on the ground, claiming that he was compliant and that they pinned him there, saying that this was unnecessary and unprofessional, that he was sitting in a parking lot not bothering anyone at any point. There was no violent scuffle. They would have picked him up if the police had called his family to do so, and they believe that there was no reason for this to turn into a fatal situation in what they say ended up starting up calm. They demand a thorough and unbiased investigation into the death, as well as training of Alameda police. They want all the footage, not just one camera, to be made public, and again are seeking alternatives to crisis response. We will have more in a report later on. For now, you're watching Chron On, streaming Bay Area News 24/7.